Hi everyone, I hope you're okay. We're now going to do part 6 of the adrenochrome research on Companies House. Please go and verify, corroborate this information. We were looking at Bank Leumi. I'm sorry, any of you who are Israeli, if I'm pronouncing that wrong, I do apologise. But we're now looking into that company, okay, which was shown in the last document. It was a legal entity company. And now we're looking at Gordon Cripps. And they link to the Anglo-Palestine Company Limited. Going into the company, on the overview page, you can see they were incorporated in 1902, and they had an original name in 1902 of Anglo-Palestine Bank Limited. Notice when they changed their name, less than a year before the World Trade Center disaster. You can see that at the bottom. In November 2000, they changed their name. So let's look at their incorporation document, which should say, remember, it should be Anglo-Palestine Bank Limited. Anglo-Palestine Company Limited. Okay, so it's an illegal entity company. You can see that. And Companies House have lied. They've committed fraud because they've said from 1902 to 2000 that was the only company name it had. But we know that's not true because here it is. So that's fraud. And you can see the the Solicitors Law Stationery Society on the bottom, which does feature as well a lot. Just looking at the address there. So you've got an address in Watford, is it? So moving on, we've got, which ties into it, Watford Association Football Club, in brackets the. So the same person, we've just gone back, remember, to that person we were looking at, and this is another company listed on their on the register for them. Watford Association Football Club Limited, in brackets the. And they were incorporated in 1909, so an old company. And on the incorporation document, it is different, isn't it? Again, Watford Association Football Clubs. There's no the at all. So they've added the, even though the date is the same on the document, and it's Jordan's and Sons. And you can see more numbers for Chancery Lane, different numbers. They use different numbers a lot and just use the same roads. So an illegal entity company. Have a quick look at that again. Watford Association Football Club Limited. Watford Association Football Club. And no the. Yeah, there's no the. Okay, moving on. We've now got another company linked to this person called Tel Aviv University Trust. Tel Aviv. Right. And then on the incorporation document, you see at the bottom, it should be Tel Aviv University Trust the. Okay, from 1968 to 2016. Tel Aviv University Trust the. Nope, so again, they've moved the. Okay, so they've moved the. And look at the name on the document, actually. It's interesting. Herbert Oppenheimer. Not too sure who that is. I think it's a relevant person. Some of you may know who that is and wish to comment on that. So again, a legal entity company. Going back now to the policy exchange that we were looking at in the last part, I believe, part 5 or 4. We've got Richard Micklethwaite. And they were appointed in June 2000, not long after the World Trade Center disaster. And they were part of the Economist editorial, in brackets, Overseas Company Limited. And the address, St James Street, features a lot throughout the fraud, again, using different numbers. You'll see that a good example of that is on the Max Clifford document. And here they've got an address when you go into the company of the Adelphi. And they were incorporated in 1997. And just at the bottom there, you can see they were called Clubholm from 1997, the 4th of February 1997 to the 10th of April 1997. And they're Swift Incorporations and Jordan's Limited, the same two companies that started mine. So they're an illegal entity company. Fraud. Same person is linked to the Economist newspaper limited, in brackets the. Now, remember, I have said a few times, most mainstream media is actually involved in this. They are. I've got a document. Don't think I've publicised it yet, but I will at some point do that. So most mainstream media is centralised and part of this illegal entity fraudulent system. And of course, that means they can provide misinformation to the general public to control the narrative and ensure that it doesn't expose the real thing in all of this, which appears to be the child trafficking and them having the ability to exploit the government, having the ability to exploit the general public through the taxation system. But we now know there's a very, very sinister element to this as well through the adrenochrome, don't we? It's quite clear, which is extremely lucrative and extremely addictive. Economist Newspaper Limited, brackets there. Incorporated in 1929. And it's obviously publishing company. And it says the Economy T newspaper. Economic, can't read that exactly, but I don't think it's what it's registered as, is it? Economist Newspaper Limited, the. Yeah, you can see the is at the front again, so they've changed that. Moving on, Policy Exchange again. Now this person, Lord Charles Hilary Moore. Lord, my goodness me. I'm not saying he is, but my good, they're the biggest criminals in the world, aren't they? Let's face it, with all this going on. And these are calling themselves lords and having CBEs and MBEs and knighthoods. And my goodness me, it's completely back to front. There you go, it's inversion again, isn't it? And they link to a company called the United Kingdom Association. And the address, Cannon Street there in 2-6, is featured throughout the fraud. Dissolved in 2012. And incorporation documents, the London Law Agency Limited. So an illegal entity. Again, crime, crime, crime. The whole thing is basically, it's a criminal system. It was never needed to be. It could have been done legitimately, transparently, honestly. These people are well. So back in now to that person we've now got. This is interesting. The Global Warming Policy Foundation. Okay, and this person that we're looking at, Charles, resigned in January 2022. So the Global Warming Policy Foundation. Let's have a look at them. Address in Westminster. Active company. Started in 2009. And on the incorporation document, there's an address that features throughout already. Lincoln's Inn. Features throughout the fraud. And we've got Farrer & Co. And hopefully I don't need to... I'll mention it again. I've said it a lot in the last few parts. Farrer & Co. links to the child trafficking via Ghislaine Maxwell, who is also linked to that company. And on the incorporation document, we have Barclays Bank PLC. Again, that address features Churchill Place. But again, they changed the numbers in it. But here we have Lord Robert Fellows of an address of Barclays Bank. And yes, they are linked to the fraud. Barclays Bank have illegal entity companies. And on the bottom of that document, on the bottom right-hand side, you can see 10 of 28. We've got various banking companies. Oxford Company, remember we've already mentioned Oxford. Ghislaine Maxwell and Robert Maxwell lived there. They're heavily involved in fraud, according to research. And of course, they've got the university there. And doctors that appear to be linked to potentially child trafficking appear to study at Oxford University. And look at all these Barclays Bank companies. And there's one of them, I can't remember which one, but one of them is... at least one of them. I think there's multiple ones, actually. Barclays Bank have illegal entities. They're fraudulent. And we've got the Commonwealth Institute there. So connection to the Crown generally, if we associate the Commonwealth countries. Starting Price Regulatory Commission at the bottom. First Tokyo Index. Going back now to that person, we've got the Brendan School in brackets Kent Limited. We've also got the Resources for Autism. And we'll go into that one. You can see it's got an address in Finchley Road, Temple, Fortune. Remember, you've got 788, 790 Finchley Road, which has already been highlighted in international government fraud and corrupt politicians, etc., and dictators and mafia, and defrauding the general public through the taxation system. This is another address in Finchley Road. 1997 it was started. Social work, human health activities, nature of business. On the incorporation document, you can see Stanley Davis Group Limited. And Stanley Davis Group Limited Also connect to Carter and Coley, the accountants for my company, who appear to be using the forged bank documents for years to file false accounts. They're also linked to Douglas Dougie Smith, the research of Douglas Dougie Smith, and BCP Council, Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole Council, the area where this all started with my evidence that was acquired, where my evidence started to be acquired. Going back to that person, we've also got the Telegraph Publishing Limited. And I already know that Telegraph is involved because I've got, like I told you, the media companies, most of them are involved in this fraud. And interestingly, Telegraph Publishing Limited, look at the address, Buckingham Palace Road, 111. And on the incorporation document, it's an address that, again, City Road address, but different numbers. They use the same addresses and mixture of addresses. You can see on the bottom there, Express Company Registrations Limited. This is one that features a lot in the fraud, and it appears to be a forged document. You can see the different typing in the company name, and the line is missing. And just to show that that company, Express Company Registrations Limited, connects to the Jeffrey Epstein research document, as well as Jordan's Limited, which is an illegal entity company. So Jeffrey Epstein connections. And these are very quick, you know, and I will keep saying, as some of you are aware, somebody was in an interview with me and tried suggesting it's only incorporation documents that I'm suggesting the links are shown in. It's not. It's multiple connections. Same companies cropping up. I've just found out more evidence today that Ingenious Film Partners 2 LLP is also connected through to the ADRENOCHROME, and that has featured in research for Rishi Sunak, in research for Carol Vorderman, in research for the directed energy weapons, and others. And that is not an incorporation company. So we've now got this person, Sarpeda Rayo. Apologies if I'm pronouncing the name wrong. And they're linked to a management company in Hampshire, New Milton. Okay, this is very close to where my company is, just along the road. 72 Holland Park Management Limited. And you've got Blenheim's Estate and Asset Management. Within that company, when you click on it, Blenheim's Estate and Asset Management in New Milton. See, when they resigned, it's interesting, isn't it? They resigned in December 2023, even though they'd been a secretary since 2012. Suggests they are panicking again. And going into Blenheim's, we've got various management companies. 50 Egerton Gardens is one of them. You go into 50 Egerton Gardens Management Limited. Oh, it's the same shot. They were incorporated in 1996. You've got, bear with me, just reading this. So you can see all the different font in the documents. And you can see NewsQuest Holdings Limited, NewsQuest Capital Limited. Now, you'll remember that if you looked at part 2, I think it was 2 or 3, possibly 4 of this video, you'll know that the Daily Echo and Bournemouth Echo were mentioned, came up, and then NewsQuest came up, and now it comes up again. And of course, NewsQuest is a very big media company, actually. It controls, it appears, many of the local, what are supposed to be, well, we're led to think that they're independent, but they control a lot of the local news media companies and newspapers around the UK. Go and look at NewsQuest. It's quite interesting how many companies they've got linked to them. And going back into 50 Egerton, we've got this person, Christopher Michael Wiscarson. And they're linked to Faylay Management Canford Cliffs Limited. You can see the address. Cliff Road in Poole, Dorset. And then we have an address that comes up that features throughout the fraud. And this address links to my management company now, 10 Exeter Road, Bournemouth. Very, very close to where this appears to be massively influenced by my company. It's just round the corner, in fact. Of course, it's where Dorset Police is, who are very heavily implicated. It's quite clear by them producing 2 emails confirming they're allowing these bank documents to be produced. by banks. Forged bank documents are crime and then used in circulation, and them having leaked information to a prime suspect that had already been named in an email by me. This is all documented. And on the incorporation document, we've got AA Company Services, which has shown before, and also Byview Limited. And you'll see that came up in my research for, I think it was immediate directed energy weapons concerns. That came up, and there's no trace of that company. And to the same person, you have Bourne Estates Limited. Okay, when you go into the Faylay Management Company, you've got Bourne Estates Limited on there, and that address features a lot throughout the fraud, especially locally around my company, and it all links together, so you can find links all the way through from my company. They're all associated in some way, whether it be by a director, an address, but they mix and match. They move the directors, move the secretaries, trying to hide it, but it hasn't worked. They're now fully exposed. And Bourne Estates, as I understand it, used to actually own the building where my company is based and where my home address is. And also you've got Rendell and Rittner linked to there. They also feature heavily around the fraud in my area. And you've got a company called Neon Stream Limited. And here's Neon Stream. And hopefully you'll recognise this address by now if you've watched some of my videos. 20 to 22 Wenlock Road. Anyone guess what company's going to be on here that's part of this fraud? See, there you go. See, it confused you there because you were thinking it would be Companies Made Simple. But this shows you how they use the same addresses. Okay, so Companies Made Simple isn't there. You've got NBC Secretaries, an address of Old Street. That's a prime example of where they use multiple addresses and link them and share them between all of these companies. It's all interlinked, basically. It's a massive fraudulent criminal system, about as low as you can get, let's face it. These people are clearly very lost, and I think it's all to do with the adrenochrome. And you can see it appears to be a forged document. See how the line's missing across the middle? That would normally be there, like we've said before. You can see how the lettering is tilted, and it's different lettering from the rest of the document as well. So I suspect that's a forged document. Going back into Faylay, you've got Robert Elliott. And they're linked to Cadbury International Limited, which dissolved. And that dissolved in December 2022, not long after I started reporting the fraud, even though they were incorporated in 1940. So Cadbury's, very sweet chocolates and sweets for children. Bear in mind, we're coming from the adrenochrome side of things. You've also got Schweppes linked to it at the bottom. You can see, first of all, this was called Cadbury Overseas Limited. And then it was called Cadbury Schweppes Export Limited. So it should be Cadbury's Overseas Limited. Is it? No, of course it's not. It's Cadbury Fry Export Limited. Well, that has never been registered. Okay, see that? So you can see how long this has been going on for. Been going on for a very long time, hasn't it? And linked to the same person, we had Cadbury Russia Limited. And Cadbury Russia Limited has a registered address of Begbie's Trainer. Well, they're linked to the fraud, of course. They're shown in some of the other research. I think it's the World Trade Center research. Cadbury Russia Limited. And they dissolved in 2024 in February. You can see they're just exposing themselves even more. They're trying to hide and remove accountability and liability, which they do have to do because at the end of the day, if they're going to get in serious trouble. But unfortunately, they're also, it's good they're exposing themselves in the process of doing it. So this shows the Russia connection again. And I do suggest you go and look at the Rishi Sunak document and videos. It's absolute fantastic evidence in there showing the removal of company names to try and appear to show that Russia isn't involved in all of this when clearly they are. And you've got the intelligence agencies linked through to it as well. This is another example. So they're all in the same club. They're all basically trying to defraud the general public through the taxation system. And it appears as though they're all involved in a very sinister adrenochrome and the apparent murder and abuse of children. And if you look at that Rishi Sunak document, you will also see the links to Ukraine. Okay, linking Ukraine, Russia, my company, intelligence agencies, UK, US, all to the same directed energy weapons and to the royal family or the monarchy. They're all working together. Okay, we need to really realise this. It can still be changed, okay, because there's more innocent people than there are involved in this, but they're obviously getting to a point where they're worried so much they're probably going to end up considering removing most people. However, and I think that's going to be through the 5G system, the chemtrails, the water poisoning, and the food poisoning. But I believe it can all still be prevented. And on the incorporation document, we've got Hack-Remco at the top. And again, a Gresham Street address. Okay, different numbers though, but they're using Gresham Street again. And you notice how the fading of the paperwork at the back there, but the actual writing is fine. Interesting, isn't it? You notice how the box is still there around it, but the lines in the middle have faded and gone, and the writing is solid. That suggests it's a forged document. And you've got Linklaters and Pains, which features throughout the fraud. And this is to show Hackwood secretaries. The previous research links to health. So my health research was a document for that. And Jordan's and Waterloo's. It also links to AstraZeneca PLC. We've already seen multiple connections to that in the other videos. And we haven't come far at all from CYM, the same company that was on the Adrenochrome document. And we've also got someone within my company and JP Morgan links to it via JP Morgan Elect PLC and Linklaters. And that's because the research surrounding that person in my company links through to that. And I've got a document for that. And then we've got Timothy Steele of Policy Exchange. So we're just going back to Policy Exchange. And here we've got, just to confirm, we've got now or support it. So we've now got a JP Morgan company. And basically people in my company, research shows that they were involved in, or their family were involved in setting up JP Morgan Bank's international banking fraud. And there you've got Mazars. Can you see that in the registered office address? You've got Mazars. Well, that links to the World Trade Center disaster. And see when this company dissolved, November 2023. And it was incorporated in February 2001. 5 months before Larry Silverstein purchased the lease for the World Trade Center building. And you can see the JP Morgan element of the company name was not added until after 2005. And on the incorporation document, it's Swift Incorporations and Jordan's Limited, you see. So it's an illegal entity company. And you'll find that most banks are either illegal or their offshoot companies are illegal. They should never have been trading. And, of course, that puts anyone at risk that has their money in there. And I do suggest everyone gets their money out. Unfortunately, you know, we're heading into very interesting times now because of these people. Unfortunately, never needed to do it. And just to confirm, you've got Mazars here. And to confirm, they link to Jeffrey Epstein research as well. So if you look at my Jeffrey Epstein document, but also the London Law Agency Limited, a legal entity company. Going back to the Policy Exchange, we've got Charles Jeffrey Stuart Smith. And they link to a company called Every Child. I thought I'd just show that because I think that's quite interesting and relevant, I believe. And you can see they were appointed in November 2001, so 2 months after the World Trade Center. And the address on there is King William Street. Again, remember, we've looked at that previously. We've already had this address, probably a different number. This is what they do. And you can see this company was actually incorporated, as we've said, November 2001, 2 months after the World Trade Center building collapse. On their incorporation document, Every Child. You can see we have someone with the surname of Jordan, which is interesting. And we've also got Christian Children's Fund of Great Britain. And they've crossed out Children's Film and Television Foundation. Notice that? So they've removed, for some reason, they've crossed that out later. Probably panicking that it's going to link to this, possibly. And Christian Children's Fund of Great Britain. So we know many churches, unfortunately, involved in this. Now, I believe the churches have been infiltrated and misled. Okay, I'm a Christian. And I would not be here if it was not for my faith in Christianity. And the ability I've been given and everything is been set up around in my life for this moment, for me to be involved in this through my faith. I can't explain it any other way. There is no other explanation. And here we've got AXA Investment Managers Allied PLC. So it's just a show. I think AXA's an insurance company, isn't it? And we've got the European Children's Trust. Remember, we've come from ADRENOCHROME. And we've got a company, Credit Suisse. First Boston. Obviously a Swiss company, I believe. But that was a tenant in the World Trade Center at the time of its collapse. And that was also a... that's also been mentioned recently as being involved in the child trafficking somehow. There's an article on my Telegram. You'll have to look at that. And you can see this was actually signed well before. Now, I know there's a delay, obviously. You fill out the document. So actually, this was being planned quite a bit nearer to the World Trade Center. So you can see 16th of October on the bottom right of the screen there. 16th of October 2001. So we're talking just over a month after the World Trade Center disaster. This company was obviously put in motion. And we've got tenants of the World Trade Center on here. And here you've got, I'm not too sure what that is. I haven't looked at that. MYRRH Education. And we've got royal companies as well. Royal Commonwealth Society. Water Aid. Remember, water has been completely controlled. Okay, there's a suggestion that it's being poisoned. There was a report from a few months ago that most of the water supply has got forever chemicals in it. And unfortunately, when you actually look into a lot of water companies, the directors that are linked to them also are linked to chemical companies. It's actually becoming quite apparent this is all very evil, isn't it? Very, very, I mean, it is very evil, let's face it, all of this. Now, these people have two ways they can go with this. They can either go into complete self-destruction and take everyone out with them and themselves. They may try and take anyone that's innocent out and leave themselves alive and therefore be able to control everyone through digital means and through digital currency. But whatever they do moving forward, if they don't come back now to truth, full truth, disclosure of the truth as to what they've been doing, and full repentance and commitment to change, I can't put it any more bluntly, they are going to hell. All right, now you may not believe that, but it is the only thing that makes sense to me in all of this. This is an opportunity for mankind to turn around from this, including those involved. They can all be saved. I believe that, spiritually, certainly. But I think if they carry on any longer, if they carry on, and it appears as though they are just going to keep carrying on, there's lots of evidence coming to light, they're just trying to hide it, conceal it, cover it all up, they're in serious trouble. They're in more trouble than anyone that's innocent in this. They are in serious trouble. And of course, if we're paying towards it, and we continue paying towards it, it's very clear from the evidence they'll be using the tax contributions for this very sinister activity. So if we're paying in towards it, we are now causing the suffering, torture and abuse, it's very apparent, isn't it, from this now, of young children, the most innocent of all. We cannot do it. Okay, we need to stop, and we need to use that to compel a change to a safeguarded, transparent taxation system. Okay, it must now be done. Anyway, moving forward, sorry. We've got National Association of Mental Health, Minds Matter, all linked to the same document, Anchor Trust, European Children's Trust. And then you've got all of these companies at the bottom. Edinburgh, UK, Tracker. See if there's any obvious Allied. It's already been mentioned. AXA. Lots of AXA companies. London Stock Exchange. Parallel Ventures. Of course, Barclays in there. Isle of Dogs Community Foundation. Lots of some Barclays companies, a few. Next page. Christian Children's Fund of Great Britain. The Greek Cat Welfare Society UK. Now, I know this is international government fraud, don't forget, so they'll be doing it in most countries around the world, certainly the Commonwealth countries. And we know that Russia's involved, and there's China and Japan as well mentioned. So, before we end, I just thought we'd have a quick look at Keir Starmer again. Now he's the Prime Minister. There's already a documented video on him. Hopefully it's still all there on YouTube. I'll check. So Keir Starmer, looking into his companies, we've got the Death Penalty Project Limited. And if you go into that company, so he's no longer a director, but he was. It was incorporated in 2005. And you can see it's an illegal entity company. It's the London Law Agency again, okay? So this is linked to child trafficking. Of course, Keir Starmer was the Director of Public Prosecution for Jimmy Savile. And going into that company, we've got Philip Kirkpatrick. And he's linked to BW number 2. That is actually on the, which I've mentioned a few times, but I'll mention it again, the Madeleine McCann No Stone Unturned page. You can see that on my Madeleine McCann document and videos. That company is on that incorporation document. So we've now got a connection very quickly, don't forget, to Madeleine McCann. And you've also got Bates, Wells and Braithwaite, which is what the BWB stands for. They're heavily involved in this fraud. And you've already seen a few of those documents heavily connected all the way through. And you've got 10 Queen Street. And you've got Blue Square Change Management LLP, which is featured before. And the Death Penalty Charitable Trust. The Human Dignity Trust. Let's have a little look at that one, going into the company now. And that is other social work activities without accommodation, not elsewhere classified. And that's it. I'm not going to do any more. There'll be loads more through there. Some people might want to do some more research in relation to the document and where it leads. I think it's safe to say that you can see it's all very sinister, isn't it? Very, very sinister. They're all part of the same plan, unfortunately. There is absolutely a way out of this, and that is for them to ensure there is a transparent taxation system at the source of bank accounts, government bank accounts, so the public can log on and see exactly where the taxation money is being spent. Okay, so you'd see the collective income coming in into a government account and then reference expenditure where that has gone. It's absolutely essential now, and also there needs to be full verification, confirmation, full verification of company registrations, because they've been allowed to use false details, etc. all the time. There needs to be very strict legislation with very serious consequences to prevent anyone in positions of authority from being able to make decisions for themselves or affiliated decisions. There needs to be a commitment to no further transition to digital currency. Okay, that just cannot happen now. Blockchain technology is compromised. That appears to be what they're going to be trying to suggest comes in. So you've got BRICS, and the quantum financial system uses blockchain technology. It can't happen. That's linked to the child trafficking. Okay, that's what they're going to try and do, people. If they do that, it's game over. This world is just heading into, I mean, it'll be hell on earth. Okay, because then they'll be able to carry on the child trafficking. There'll be nothing that anyone can do about it. It will be, well, there's no simple way to put it other than hell on earth. Okay, so we can't let that happen. There needs to be full financial transparency in relation to real estate. It's absolutely essential. And of course, the 5G needs to be removed as soon as possible. That appears to be their main plan of depopulation. There's so much evidence in relation to that. All they're doing is expediting it now, trying to rush it and put it up, getting reports about that from all around the country now. All evidence suggests it's harmful. They're using fraud all the way to remove accountability and liability. Why would they do that if it was safe? They'd make sure there's full accountability and liability. And this has been a plan for a very, very long time. I think they've been planning this for such a long time to integrate the weapon against the people into the communication systems and the technology that they have made everyone relying upon now. So we need to come away from that completely. It's not going to be an easy transition to go back. You know, we're going to have to step back a little bit in terms of technology. It has to happen. These people cannot be trusted, everyone. We've got to save the children. It's a priority. God bless you all.